Good evening and welcome to the Manteno Village Board meeting for Tuesday, February 22nd, 2022. I'd like to call the meeting to order. If we could all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Boyce?
Here.
Martin? Here. Dole?
Here.
Crockett?
Here.
Geske?
Here.
Phillips?
We have a quorum tonight. As always, we begin with the approval of the agenda. We have our agenda from our regular board meeting minutes. I'm sorry. We begin the meeting with the approval of the minutes from the last meeting. We have a regular meeting minutes from February 7th, 2022 that were included in everyone's packet. Hopefully everyone's had the opportunity to review the minutes. Is there any changes, additions, deletions, corrections? Seeing none, I'd accept a motion to waive the reading of the minutes and approve them as presented by the clerk.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Crockett,
Second.
second by Dole. Roll call.
Crockett?
Abstain.
Dole?
Yes.
Boyce?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes.
Geske?
Yes.
Motion carries. Public participation, we don't have anyone in the audience tonight. We have not received anything, Chris, anybody? Okay.
Nope.
No public participation. Village President's report. Really nothing. Things have been kind of a quiet time of the year. Not a whole lot going on other than, since our last meeting, obviously we've had a couple snow events. Jim isn't here tonight to give an update on that. I think the last one was a lot smaller than the previous one, and they got everything taken care of. I know that, we've had a few incidents where a few mailboxes have been hit. If anybody, had a mailbox that had been damaged by Public Works during the snowplow events, give a call to the Village Hall or the Public Works Garage and they'll come out and take a look at it. And, we will, fix those when the weather is decent to be able to do it, give you a temporary one in the meantime, if in fact it was caused by something, that the snowplow drivers were unable to avoid. I have nothing else. Village Administrator's report, Mr. LaRock.
Thank you, Mayor. I have nothing this evening.
It'll be a fast meeting. Committee reports, Public Works and Utilities. Mr. Boyce.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The only thing I have is I got a meeting on March 22nd, 2022 at 7 a.m. That's all I got.
Thank you. You had your February meeting this morning. This morning at 7 o'clock.
Here we are.
Thank you, Mr. Boyce. Properties and Recreation, Mr. Martin.
I have nothing, but we have a meeting on March 16th, which is kind of nice to hear.
It's coming up quick.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's going to be here before you know it.
sure.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Public Safety and Health, Mrs. Dole.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have any action items on the agenda tonight either. My next Public Safety and Health is on Wednesday, March 9th at 7 a.m. here in the Village Boardroom. Have a couple safety tips. Freezing and melting snow and rain have begun to create the threat of water on the roadways in our area. Here are some helpful tips about driving through the water. First things first, it's never a good idea to drive on flooded roadways, even when you're caught unexpectedly in the middle of a trip. If you encounter flood waters on the road ahead, turn around and don't drown. However, unpredictable weather can put you in a dangerous situation fast before you can safely get off the road. If you find yourself driving through water despite your best effort to avoid the situation, we have some tips that can help. Drive down the center, take turns with other cars, only cross when the water is extremely shallow. Only 1/2 inch of water at any speed can cause you to lose control. Never try and cross water that rises above the center of your wheels. Drive slowly. Drive in low gear. Dry your brakes. Once you get through the water, you don't want to spin out. You can dry your brakes after moving through water by braking lightly while driving very slowly. Finally, never drive through moving water or floods, period. Many people have been put in a dire situation after thinking they could drive through water that was clearly moving. 6 inches of water is enough to hit the bottom of most passengers' cars, flooding the exhaust and leaving you immobile and even floating in your car. Good tips to keep in mind since it rained most of the day. Also the polar plunge. Plunge our way and join us on 3-5 2022 at the Manteno Sportsman's Club located at 851 South Main in Manteno. Registration will be from 11 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. with the plunge taking place at 2 p.m. To donate, look up the Polar Plunge Manteno and hit the donate button. Also, and Al, I understand we're going to talk about the 3 women officers that are going to be featured in the Journal and on ABC Channel 7.
Yes,
So-
we posted on Facebook the other day that all 3 of them work, it's the same shift, so it was all female shift, which in our history has never happened, and actually for most departments never happened, so it's kind of an unusual event. And the Journal and Channel 7 picked up on it and are interviewing them today and tomorrow, and going to do a story about them. Very nice.
Good, very nice to be featured for Manteno for another good thing.
We don't know when it'll be on the television, though, do you?
No, they're interviewing Karen tomorrow afternoon, so I would assume it'll be either that day or some, the next day or 2 after that.
Good.
Stay tuned. So, thanks, Al. That's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Stoll. And I think, Ryan, are you in the Polar Plunge this year?
I am.
So you're,
Wish I could say I'm looking forward to it.
so you're raising donations
Yep.
for the Polar Plunge?
That's a
so
great
everybody
cause.
can, give money for the, for the people that are going into the water.
Yep.
Thank you, Ms. Stoll. Planning and zoning, Mr. Crockett.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have any items on the agenda this evening. We do have a Planning and Zoning Committee meeting scheduled for Tuesday, March the 22nd at 7 a.m. here in the Village Boardroom. And there is a Planning Commission meeting scheduled for March the 8th, 6 p.m. also here in the Village Boardroom. And that's all I have for this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Crockett. Finance, Mr. Geske.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a few items. The first item is Ordinance 2125, an ordinance establishing a tax reimbursement account for the 2021 tax year and authorizing distributions to owners of taxable homestead property within the village of Manteno, Kankakee, Illinois. We have, in the past, we talked about this at Finance Committee meetings, started talking about things that we've done for businesses in the past of giving TIF facade agreements and things such as that to help them out, but we wanted to do a little bit more for our residents. And we've, to date, we've eliminated the garbage bill and taken that, but that wasn't quite enough of what we wanted to do. And we don't have the fine details worked out yet, but one of the things that tonight passing this ordinance will do will be the first step towards us rebating some of property owners' taxes back to people, and hopefully the details of this will be finished in the next month or so, I would hope, with our finance meetings and other general meetings to be able to share all those details, but this is a first step in that. I don't know, Mayor, do you want to talk?
Yeah, I mean, this is something that we've talked about, a while, for a couple of years, when we sold the wastewater treatment facility and we were able to deposit, a large sum of money into the village coffers. That's when we eliminated the garbage fee, like you mentioned before. And that saves everybody, a couple $100 a year. I mean, I think the garbage fees are running anywhere from, $25 to, depending on what town you're in, $25 to $30, $35 a month that people in Manteno don't have to pay. The village pays that. So multiply that times 12, it's, say a couple $100 a year. But we also, because we did, liquidate the wastewater treatment facility, we have excess monies in the account. Well, like you said, we've always offered some agreements for businesses, for facade reimbursements, some sales tax incentives to try to attract new businesses to town. But one of the things that we continually hear is that, our real estate taxes are high, And there's no doubt they are. I mean, but the real estate taxes consist of a lot of different entities. Probably, out of your total dollar bill for your taxes, it's about 8% of the 8.5% of the total bill. So, in order to try to alleviate some of the burden on our tax-paying citizens that live in the community, we came up with this, idea of, of rebating some of the real estate tax. So what'll happen is everyone will get the real estate tax just like they have, or the tax bill just like they have all along. and everybody will be responsible for paying the real estate tax bill just like they have all along. The last payment, the second payment of that is done usually around the first week of September. After the first week of September, we'll establish a time frame, and it's probably going to be, and this is just tentative, but it's probably going to be starting September 15th and going for 45 days until the end of October. Anyone who is a single-family, homeowner in the village of Manteno that paid their real estate tax bill will be able to file a one or a two-page at the most sheet for a rebate of the village portion of the real estate taxes. So if your tax bill is $6,000, we'll say, your village portion is probably going to be between $500, $600, $650 is what the village portion of that's going to be. You'll be able to file this one or two page sheet giving us the information of your residence, giving us a copy of your tax bill, and the village will collect all those applications over the course of a 6-week period, and then the village will rebate your village portion of the sale of the real estate tax sometime. Hopefully, we're hoping that we can send checks out around December 1st of this year to all the single-family homeowners that are paying the real estate tax in Manteno. So in essence, your village portion will be reimbursed to you this year at 100% rate. Other years, we might have to change that and only give back a certain portion as our funds, dwindle, and as our funds, depending on what it costs to operate the village, and as the funds that we have available from the sale of the wastewater system go down, we might have to amend that at certain times. But for a few years, we'll be able to give the reimburse at 100% rate. Now, keep in mind, this is only for single-family owner-occupied residences. If you're a commercial business, that you don't qualify. If you're an industrial business, you don't qualify. If it's rental property, whether it's commercial rental property or residential rental property, it doesn't qualify. And a lot of people may say, well, that doesn't help the renters at all. And you're absolutely right, it doesn't. But the village has no way of making landlords lower people's rent because they're getting a rebate. So we have no way of being able to control that, the rental units. So this will only be for single-family owner-occupied residences, and it's one of the criteria is that you have to live in that residence the whole year. So if you lived in your house on January 1st, 2021, and you lived in there on December 31st of 2021, you lived in it the whole year, you'll qualify for this rebate. And you'll have to show some proof that you are the resident and that that you have the Homestead Exemption Act on the tax bill, and that you will qualify for this taxable amount. So it could amount to several $100s for many, and potentially a couple $1,000s for some who have a real high tax bill. A check that you'll get from the village, right around, a couple weeks before Christmas. That's the plan. This ordinance tonight establishes the checking account for the village to transfer some of our surplus money into that account, and then the more details will come out. But you can't apply for this until after your tax bills are totally paid. So we'll have to we wait till you get your tax bill in the mail, wait till you pay the tax bill, and then after the second payment is due, then the village will establish a time frame when you can fill out the paperwork and submit the data in order to get the rebate. We're hoping to maybe we'll have one of the form online where you can print it out at home from our website. Those details will be gone through and fine-tuned as the year goes on. But this gets the process started for all the single-family homeowners. And if anyone has any questions, they can call Chris at the Village Hall during the day, and hopefully he can answer it. There's a couple other communities that have done this in the past. Shorewood, I think, we've talked to New Lenox, and we've talked with them and found out how they've done it, some of the, errors that they made, and how they corrected those errors, and how some of the verifications that they've had for this, the tax rebate. So we're kind of modeling it off of the new Lennox program that they had. Some people will be upset because, well, wait, I only lived in my house, from starting in February, not the whole year. Well, you won't qualify for that year, but you'll qualify for the, for the next year. This is to benefit the people who are full-time residents and have been full-time residents in the village for the taxable year 2021. And then 2022, we'll see if we can continue that program after that. Anybody have any other comments or questions? I say we've talked about this at a couple of our meetings.
You explained it great.
And I'm sure that there'll be some questions that'll come up, and there'll be some, errors that, situations that we haven't thought about. But again, when Chris talked with the people up in New Lenox, the first year was kind of a learning curve for them, but they've hopefully, gone through a lot of this, process, and we look to them for some of the, solutions to some of the things that come up. If your tax bill is in a trust, but you are still the occupant, that will still qualify. I mean, a lot of people have their house, or, the residence in a trust that wouldn't be in their name. It might be in a local bank trust number, 123. As long as you can prove that you were the occupant of that house, you will still qualify.
Yeah, and they've done this for 12 years, and she's graciously offered if any issues or problems we have that come up, that we can reach out to her anytime, and she was definitely a wealth of knowledge. They've seen just about everything.
Well, and there'll probably be a hiccup somewhere along the line, there always is, but we'll work through it.
And this, like I say, this will be one way for the village board and the village of Manteno to give back some of the money that we were able to accrue during the sale of the wastewater treatment facility. The tax-paying residents of the village paid for that wastewater treatment facility. This is one way for us to, in the fairest way we know and the fairest way possible, to give some of those back. Some people might say, well, why don't you just reduce the tax rate, just reduce that down to zero? Well, we talked about that, but we can't, because first of all, we don't necessarily want it to go to zero, because we're a tax cap state, and if you have tax caps, you can only raise your taxes every year a certain percentage. Well, if any of you have done any math, you'll know what any percentage times zero is zero. So you'd never be able to raise that rate again. We could lower it, and that's true, but we also want to be able to capture some of the real estate tax on some of these big facilities that we have. I mean, we've got manufacturing facilities in the area that pay hundreds of thousands of dollars in real estate tax to the village and to the school district, and we want to make sure that we can continue to be able to capture those fees, because those are businesses that are operating and have those taxes, included in their budgets. And so this is the fairest way that we felt we could do it and still help the single-family homeowner. If it's a 6-unit rental apartment, that's a business, and that wouldn't qualify. If it's a commercial business on Main Street that that operates, that's a business, so that wouldn't qualify. But if that's a home that you live in and you live there all year long, then you're going to be the beneficiary of this rebate.
Okay. Next is the payment of bills in the amount of $603.96, of which there are no TIF bills authorized and no bills paid between board cycles as well. Our next Finance Committee meeting is scheduled for March 9th at 7 a.m. right here.
Thank you, Mr. Geske. General Government, Mr. Phillips is not here tonight. He will be back for our next meeting, but he has nothing on the agenda. So tonight, under old business, we have nothing. Under new business, we have ordinance number 2125, an ordinance establishing a tax reimbursement account for the 2021 tax year and authorizing distribution to owners of taxable homestead property within the village of Manteno, Kankakee County, Illinois. We also have the payment of the bills, motion to approve the payment of the bills in the amount of $130,603.96, of which none are TIF. Are there any items on the consent agenda that need to be voted on individually? Seeing none, I'd accept the motion to take a single roll call vote of the question of the passage of the agenda items as read.
I'll make it.
Motion by Martin.
Second.
Second by Boyce. Roll call.
Martin?
Yes.
Boyce?
Yes.
Dole?
Yes.
Crockett?
Yes.
Geske?
Yes.
Motion carries. Accept the motion to approve by omnibus vote the ordinances, resolutions, motions, and orders contained in the consent agenda as read.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Dole, second by Geske. Roll call.
Dole?
Yes.
Geske?
Yes.
Boyce?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes.
Crockett?
Yes.
Motion carries. Comments tonight? Mr. Boyce, you got anything you want to talk about?
You did a great job explaining it, and we're always looking for ways to help our residents, so, good job. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Boyce. Mr. Martin? No? Mrs. Dole?
Same, Tim said it well. Both Tims said it well. So,
Thank
That's
you,
it.
Mrs. Dole. Mr. Crockett?
No comments tonight, Mayor.
Mr. Geske? I have nothing further. I'd accept the motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Dole, second by Crockett. Roll call.
Dole?
Yes.
Crockett?
Yes.
Boyce?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes.
Geske?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you very much for coming, for watching.